Hello and welcome. From being infamous for their violent vigilantism to beating up migrants, from protesting the entry of Pakistani artists to embarking on book-burning exercises and rounding up youngsters on Valentine's Day, from identifying itself with the cause of the Aarey forest to now questioning its core identity as a Hindutva or a soft-Hindutva party, the Shiv Sena stands at a defining crossroads. In this episode of Endeavour Explains, let's dive deep to understand the politics of Maharashtra and its leading political party, Shiv Sena. Bal Keshav Thackere, popularly known as Balasaheb Thackere, began his political career as a cartoonist with the Free Press Journal and later formed his own political weekly named Marmik. He was the founder of Shiv Sena mouthpiece Samna and Dopaher Ka Samna. His father was a part of the Samyukta Maharashtra mission, and this is where his philosophy on Hindutva and politics was shaped. He was fondly known as Hindu Hriday Samrat, meaning the emperor of Hindu hearts, and was idolized with godlike devotion by his followers. On June 19, 1966, Bal Thackere laid the foundation of Shiv Sena at the famous Shivaji Park in Mumbai. Shiv Sena's strength increased continuously in Maharashtra since the 1970s. From the Assembly to the Lok Sabha, it has established itself as a major force in the politics of the state. It is believed that the Marathas and the Kunbis, who once stood firmly with the Congress in Maharashtra politics, shifted towards the Shiv Sena. Hindutva broadly linked the party to the other classes as well. The Shiv Sena fought the first Lok Sabha elections in 1971 and the Assembly elections in 1990. Their natural ally has always been the Bharatiya Janata Party. In 2019, its differences with the BJP over seats emerged, despite which they fought the elections together. This time Shiv Sena won 56 seats, but the differences with the BJP emerged so much that they eventually separated. Shiv Sena then formed the government with the Congress and the Nationalist Congress Party, which were once considered to be its staunch opponent. The Maha Vikas Aghadi or the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, abbreviated as MVA, was a state-level political coalition formed after the 2019 Maharashtra Legislative Assembly election under the leadership of Uddhav Thackeray of Shiv Sena, Sharad Pawar of NCP and Sonia Gandhi of the INC, along with the support from the Samajwadi Party, PWPI, Prahar Jan Shakti Party and several other political parties including independent MLAs. But the alliance government is now a history since a large section of the party had turned rebel, leading to the fall of the MVA. Before we get into the reasons for the downfall of this coalition, let us understand in detail about the political ideologies of the party that has taken various turns over these last 56 years. To understand the ideologies and the philosophies of Shiv Sena, let's first clear our understanding of the concept and differences involved in Hinduism and Hindutva. One fundamental characteristic of Hinduism is its spirit of toleration. True Hinduism teaches that one must respect other faiths. A true Hindu can go to the extent of allowing others the right to be wrong. Shashi Tharoor writes in his book, Why I Am a Hindu. Hindutva does not simply mean Hinduness. It is beyond that. It has nothing to do with spiritualism actually, but everything to do with the political economy. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar and M.S. Golwalkar, the two think tanks of Hindutva ideology, laid down three essentials of Hindutva, namely a common nation, Hindu Rashtra, a common race, Jati, and a common civilization, Sanskriti. In Savarkar's vision of Hindu Rashtra or the Hindu nation, there is only one culture, that is a Hindu culture. There is only one language, that is Hindi, and there is only one religion, that is Hinduism. While this definition of Hindutva is the most popular today, Shiv Sena was not formed on Savarkar's Hindutva ideology. The original Thackere and the reason for the movement of Shiv Sena is Keshav Sitaram Thackere, the father of Shiv Sena leader Bal Thackere. Keshav Thackere was among the prominent figures in the Samyukta Maharashtra movement in the 1950s that pushed for the formation of the state of Maharashtra. He was an influential public figure even 3 decades before, especially after he started a periodical called Prabodhan or The Awakening in 1921. In his publication Prabodhan, Keshav Prabodhankar Thackerays presented a version of Hindutva based on an intense aversion for the socio-cultural dominance of the Brahmins. He played a key role in expanding to semi-urban and rural areas of Maharashtra the non-Brahmin movement that had been started by Jyotiba Phule in 1873. Thackere was attracted to the reformers' writings and the core principle of Phule's Satyashodhak Samaj organization to work for the social upliftment of the members of the lowest caste. Balasaheb took up his father's Marathi Hindutva agenda but distanced himself from his reformist agenda. Balasaheb Thackere took ahead the movement on Savarkar's Hindutva ideology, while Uddhav Thackere decided to bring back the legacy of his grandfather, Prabodhankar Keshav Thackere, in some form. And why is this understanding of Hindutva ideology so important to understand the Maharashtra politics? Because in all explanations so far, leader of the current rebellion Eknath Shinde has harped on party's alleged compromise on the Hindutva ideology, claiming to be a true Sainik and follower of Bal Thackere. Shinde claims that the party under Uddhav has deviated from its ideology and stresses the need to return to Hindutva politics as well as to its former and natural ally, the Bharatiya Janata Party. Under Uddhav and in alliance with the NCP and Congress, Shiv Sena workers were faced with an identity crisis. Uddhav went in for a more moderate image as opposed to his father's hardliner persona. His son Aditya Thackere, who Uddhav began to project as his heir apparent, was also painted as a liberal, secular, environment-friendly leader in stark contrast to party's book-burning days. Initially, the party did not espouse Hindutva, which was a fringe ideology at that time. Instead, the Shiv Sena was founded as a nativist outfit representing the Marathi speakers of Mumbai. Some of the conditions for the Sena's founding was created by middle-class anxiety amongst the city's Marathi speakers about jobs. The Sena's ethnic nativist flank was soon widened to include border disputes between Maharashtra and Karnataka when in 1969 the city saw widespread rioting by the party cadre. The Sena's ethnic flank worked well in the greater Mumbai metropolitan area where Marathi speakers saw themselves as a distinct community under siege from the members of other language groups. However, the position had little play in the rest of the state. In rural Maharashtra, Marathi speakers were overwhelmingly dominant, so they had little need for the identity politics. To expand his base, Thackere then turned to Hindutva. From the 1980s, the party began to canvass for the votes of Hindus across linguistic communities, and in 1989, the Sena joined hands with BJP to fight national and state elections. Prioritizing Hindutva over its identity as a part of the Marathi Manos might have brought it some success, but it was also a Trojan horse. With its voter and cadre base now increasingly thinking of itself as a far-right Hindutva party, the Sena opened itself to erosion by the BJP. Some of this remarkable agility with respect to Hindutva comes from the fact that Sena, unlike the BJP, is rooted in a state identity. At the same time, however, the party has been unable or unwilling to fully project itself as a party of Maharashtra. The Sena has been unable to expand the politics of the state identity into a federal plank to say paint the BJP as an outsider to the state or lobby aggressively with the BJP-controlled centre for Maharashtra's fiscal interests. This constant ideological fickleness has harmed the party. But while the Indian voter might cast her ballot based on several factors in the short term, in the long run, as is clear from the BJP-Sena tussle, ideology does matter in Indian politics. The Shiv Sena and the Congress are not natural allies. They have had opposing vote bases and ideologies for decades. It is Hindutva versus for secular deep divide. You can form a post-poll government, but when it comes to elections, both are incompatible. The Hindutva base would move completely to the BJP. Shiv Sena leaders feared total rout in the next election. Hence, they pulled the chain now before it was too late to reverse their chances by going back to their own roots. They might have enjoyed the fruits of office for 2 more years, but the future would have been bleak. Coupled with this is the bitter truth that Uddhav Thackere has not been his best as the Chief Minister. An absentee Chief Minister for nearly 2 years, working from behind computer screens and telephones, he hardly met anybody. While Ajit Pawar was busy serving his constituency and helping his MLAs for the work in their constituencies, Shiv Sena MLAs were left high and dry and wouldn't get appointment or fair hearing from their boss. They have a 2-year window to improve their chances if they can form a government with BJP as they are advocating. It is not easy to break a cadre-based party dedicated to the memory of their inspiration, Balasaheb Thackeray. Lack of political acumen saw Uddhav Thackeray like a sitting duck despite 2 occasions of cross-voting. The second one during the Rajya Sabha polls being more serious than the first one. The reaction has been slow. First, the denial of anything being amiss, despite many MLAs flying the coop. Then, the abrasive style showed a lack of understanding of the party. The legal posturing too has been handled very poorly by Uddhav Thackeray. They couldn't get a speaker in place once Nana Patole was made to resign to take over the Congress leadership. It shows the dearth of talent in Congress now. Fast forward to today and we saw on 30th June the one-time auto driver Eknath Shinde being sworn in as the 20th Chief Minister of Maharashtra, while Bharatiya Janata Party BJP stalwart Devendra Fadnavis took oath as the Deputy CM, bringing a dramatic end to the 10-day-old political crisis in the state. Shinde, backed by 41 Shiv Sena rebels, and the BJP won the floor test in Maharashtra Legislative Assembly by 65 votes. The new alliance also proved its majority by electing BJP's Rahul Narvekar as the Assembly Speaker, who defeated Shiv Sena nominee Rajan Salvi by 57 votes. In politics and government, there is often quite a bit of mentoring. Balasaheb was the guru to Anand Dighe, who joined politics at a young age. He became president of Shiv Sena's Thane unit in 1984. Dighe was a grassroots leader with a large fan base. He was popularly known as Dharamveer and was considered a powerful muscle man in Thane. Anand Dighe is largely credited with expanding Shiv Sena roots in Thane and flanking areas including Kalyan, Dombivli, Ambernath and Bhiwandi, among others. Like Balasaheb, he never fought elections but kept a hawk eye on developments around him. More importantly, in Thane, Dighe built a persona emulating Bal Thackeray's mirror image in Mumbai. He was so successful at his campaign that gradually a mythical aura got built around him. He became the Superman who could get anything done. Dighe mentored many, but his prized pupil was Eknath Shinde. When Eknath Shinde lost 2 of his children, a son and a daughter, after a boat capsized in the river during their visit to his village, he was devastated. He wanted to give up everything. Dighe consoled and urged him to take charge of his life. This is why Eknath Shinde has been a huge follower of Anand Dighe. Later, Eknath Shinde became the disciple of Uddhav Thackeray. But things went sour as Shinde felt the Shiv Sena under MVA had digressed from Hindutva agenda. Shinde said the MVA could not decide when matters concerning Hindutva, Veer Savarkar, Mumbai Blast and underworld don Dawood Ibrahim came up. Shinde said Sena MLAs were facing difficulty in carrying out works in their constituencies as allies were trying to empower those who lost to them. Hence, he decided to take charge of the situation by rebelling against the Thackerays and following his original mentor Anand Dighe. It would be interesting to watch how the Shiv Sena shapes its ideologies after the split and how the Maharashtra politics turn out under the new leadership of Eknath Shinde.